Washington's new 10% global tariff has taken effect, but what does it mean for international markets like Europe and Asia? Well, joining us now to discuss is Michael Brown. He's Vice President, Director, and Portfolio Manager with TD Asset Management. Michael, great to have you back on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we've heard that the U.S. Supreme Court has struck down some of those tariffs and that Washington responded by enacting a new 10% global tariff. So what does that mean for Europe and Asia going forward?
Well, firstly, 10% is better than the 15% he talked on the weekend. Right now, it would be modestly positive. Uncertainty still continues. With the tariffs, particularly in Asia, countries like China and India, this is a significant, at least temporary reduction in the tariffs they're paying. But the outlook, as we all know, this administration has talked quite regularly about tariffs being part of their policy agenda. And so they will likely find another way to bring them into the discussions. But it is a temporary reprieve for particularly China and India as the drops to 10%. Other uncertainty would be for countries like Japan and Korea who have made tentative deals. What happens to the status of those deals done under the framework that the Supreme Court has ruled out? So really continued uncertainty, but at least temporarily, it's a bit 10% is lower than what they were paying what was being paid previously. So.
Okay, so let's talk about something else that has also made headlines. Japan, they just recently had an election that's created a lot of headlines. Explain to us what happened there.
Well, basically, the LDP has won a supermajority. So it's the largest, led by Sanai Takahashi.
You said that very well.
Pardon me. Has won the largest majority really in the post-war era in Japan. So even larger than Shinzo Abe's major wins in the early 2010. And so it's very positive in terms of they have a clear agenda that they can get passed. They can focus on return on their policy as opposed to necessarily, say, buying votes through policy, which is good. There's no concerns the budget will easily pass. These are all positive for Japan going forward. It removes an element of uncertainty in terms of the fiscal agenda, which is good.
Okay, so you said it removes some of the uncertainty, and so there are benefits to that. But talk about some of the risks of this supermajority.
With the ability to change the Constitution, I would say that as investors, the biggest risk would be choosing nationalistic interests over economic interests. Article 9 of the Japanese Constitution, also known as the Pacifist Clause, has gotten a lot of headlines as several prior prime ministers have tried to change it. Essentially, it creates an ambiguity around Japan's right to defend themselves. And with the supermajority, they have the ability to change the Constitution. This will likely lead to increased tensions with China. I think we saw a symptom of this last night when China released, I think it was 20 companies in Japan with export restrictions.
Okay, and now what about the potential opportunities for investors going forward?
The upside right now, I'd say one of the biggest ones, they've talked about a consumption tax going to zero on food. This would be positive for overall consumption. I doubt people are going to spend more on food. They're just going to have more money to spend on other things besides food. So that should be positive for consumption. There is also positives with the infrastructure rollout. She's talked about nuclear restarts. Cheaper power is good for economic growth. So that would be positive for, say, construction engineering names. Kojima would be an example. There's 4 or 5 of them that are quite similar. There's also, it'd be positive for defense companies, the same list that was listed in the release from China last night.
Are there any names that specifically stand out for you?
Mitsubishi Heavy would be a name. IHI would be another name. And those would be 2 of the larger defense names within Japan.
And in terms of the sectors that you're focused on, would they be, you said defense, is there any other sectors that you'd be focused on?
Largely in industrial space, and then of course part of the fiscal stimulus would be the technology sector in Japan that's led by semiconductor capital equipment. Tokyo Electron would be a prime beneficiary of that there, but there are other names, whether it be Disco Corp, Lasertech, many of them have fancy names.
Right, so some names you'll be focused on going forward.
It would be technology industrials. And hopefully some relief in consumer, but that's not an area that we're focused in.